唔該晒，仲有啊 ？The very last one, this one. All right.
唔該晒。
唔該晒。
攞咪先。
呢度暫時唔使咪住，我諗要，因為佢嗡得好緊要嘅係。睇下先，搭正而家温晒 ，OK。Thank you for joining us. The issue we're tackling today is about inadequate quarantine support services at the airport for ethnic minority passengers, involving the supply of halal food. And some might think, oh, that's no big deal, because by definition, halal food would mean anything vegetarian. But then the whole saga could amount to suspected, apparent racial bias treatment of our ethnic minority passengers, prompted by language barrier, skin color, or sheer ignorance. And you would say, oh, it all boils down to indifference. Now, we need to be reminded that indifference could just be the worst form of discrimination in any way. 我哋今日嘅記者招待會咧，主要係投訴喺機場嗰度係不足嘅檢疫同埋係隔離嘅服務嘅尤其是係對我哋嘅少數族裔嘅人士，有好多咧本身就係香港人喺香港居住嘅。咁有人話你講而家話冇嘅食物係清真食物，咁基本上咧就係所有素食都係清真食物㗎啦。咁可能係語言上溝通唔好啫咁嚇，咁但係整件事咧就可以大家睇到係可以代表到涉嫌疑似種族歧視嘅對待係相對於我哋嘅少數族裔，尤其是係香港人，係基於膚色啊，抑或係無知啊，抑或純粹係語言嘅問題呢？咁希望不論係機管局或者係我哋嘅衛生署咧，係多加留意嘅。會有人話咁你講到底係冷漠啫嚇，對你唔夠熱情。大家一定要記得，融樂會香港嘅融樂會時時提醒大家，冷漠可能係最壞、最差嘅一款歧視嚟嘅。咁首先請陳家朗區議員，佢係尖沙咀區嘅，就同大家講一講下佢協助有關家庭滯留喺機場嗰個過程。
唔該晒各位，夠大聲啦，唔使開麥啦咁樣。咁我係 Leslie， 咁其實咧我早2個禮拜前咧嘅禮拜六咧9月12號嘅時候就收到隔離呢位先生 Mr. Asif 佢嘅一個 WhatsApp 就求助，咁就話佢嘅太太同埋2個小朋友咧喺印度係坐飛機翻到嚟香港嘅時候咧，係因為架機上有啲疑似確診人士，咁佢就係被即係扣留啦。咁但係超過咗36個鐘咧，當時就係冇清真食物供應啦，亦都冇人話到俾佢聽點解啦，即係個情況。咁喺機場入面，佢哋啲 staff 都比較係冷漠啦，因為 DOH 即係衛生署扣留佢哋噶嘛。咁但係啲職員又唔係好願意去同佢溝通啦。咁因為佢嘅太太係主要係講英文同埋烏都語嘅，咁唔知點解咁喺入面就留咗咁耐，咁喺度冇嘢食。咁連埋2個小朋友，一個9歲，一個5歲。咁到最後啦，咁佢揾到我嘅時候咧，我再去話不如果你太太係可以聯絡到現場啲職員，如果因為中文嘅問題，咁俾個電話佢叫俾啲職員同我講啦。咁最後咧同機另一個人就 pass 個電話過嚟，咁我可以直接同到個機場入面嘅衛生署嘅職員去對話。但係佢淨係話到俾我聽，佢太太只會送去 Penny Bay， 即係呢個竹篙灣。咁咧，我話咁幾時啊？或者依家有冇辦法可以提供到啲清真食物俾佢哋啊？即係3母子喺入面係肚餓咗30幾，最後係40個鐘啦直情。嗰個職員咧就即刻將個電話 pass 翻俾即係借電話嗰位女士。 完全都係唔願意溝通。我話可唔可以問因為你揸唔到主意，可唔可以俾你 supervisor 個電話我，或者我直接同你 supervisor 講，佢都唔肯。嗰個姓黃嘅，我好記得。但係到最後佢淨係話咗俾我聽 Penny Bay， 咁幾經辛苦啦，終於揾到呢、個即係 Penny Bay 嗰邊嘅CAS 啦。咁嗰邊就好快手已經即刻話聯絡咗，冇問題，你可以自己送食物入嚟。不過因為佢哋過咗食飯時間，啲清真食物咧，佢哋自己 Penny Bay 嗰度就冇晒㗎啦，所以要佢漏夜嗰晚仲落雨係送入去。咁另一個我要再講嘅，應該仲有另一個我哋 video 會係live 俾佢去講嘅咧，就係、一位Mr. Summit。咁咧佢就啱啱呢個禮拜嗰班 AI 310翻嚟嘅，啱啱嗰個禮拜5、6嗰個，即係又係有幾個確診㗎啦。咁依家大家都知道 AI 310嗰班機，即係印度航空已經係停飛2個禮拜啦，香港政府唔俾佢哋。咁嗰陣時佢有4至5個呢啲咁嘅家庭咧，都係一樣類似嘅個案，一樣都係咁扣留住。可唔可以 pass 張圖俾我？咁咧最初年咧一啲咁樣嘅瞓嘅地方都俾唔到佢哋，食嘅地方都俾唔到佢哋。咁嘢食咁，但係經過佢哋即係好耐爭取，先至一啲咁嘅 camp bed 都冇嘅，即係可能係瞓緊啲凳啊、一啲床啊、床墊嘅喎，其實係同埋攞啲好似啲partition 呢啲嘅布嘅 partition 先至叫做稍為可以休息到，但係佢哋都扣咗成20幾30個鐘喺入面，又係冇食物。咁呢個都係一個。佢哋遇到問題，不過應該咧，因為呢一個技術問題啊，佢嗰邊就可能未必收到依邊個電腦個聲，但佢可以就直接講翻俾大家聽係發生咩事。我暫時我相信要講嘅都係咁多，咁我交翻俾 Mr. Summit 係啦。
May I ask you?
Sorry.
No, I don't think you need that because the audio wouldn't be good. Via the mic. Yeah, I think you can. We move a bit. Yeah, 得㗎啦。
Okay.
So my name is Asif Ahmed, and whatever I speak here is out of the experience that my spouse and my kids have faced at Hong Kong International Airport. And the following conversation is only our personal experience, and it has no relevance. And finally, our intention is only to bring some changes which can enhance the experience of passengers, no matter whichever the country they are from, and they have a smooth transition at Hong Kong International Airport. Okay, I start with the first ordeal of my spouse and my kids, who landed in Hong Kong International Airport on 11th of September around 6:15 a.m. by
A.M.
in the morning. Okay. So as per the local Hong Kong Department of Health guidelines, they were supposed to undergo a COVID-19 test, and they were expected to wait till the test results are out in a specified restricted zone in airport. So the specimen was taken and they got the report by 9 p.m. on the same day, which is about 15 hours from the time they landed in the airport. So during all these 15 hours, all 177 passengers were expected to wait in a restricted zone. They had no access to outside of food, except the food that they carried with themselves and a few water, which is provided by Department of Health. I was not made any understanding that there was any food provided by either airport authorities or Department of Health during the first 15 hours. Okay, and the second ordeal of my family is post the test results. All my family members, my spouse and my 2 kids aged 9 and 5 years respectively, tested negative. But however, they were sitting, we were told, alleged that they were sitting in a table which was placed close to a fellow passenger of a baby girl of 4 years who tested positive. So Department of Health said they have reason to believe that my family is in close contact with the COVID-19 passenger, and they said my family will be sent to an institutional quarantine center, and we will not be allowed to send to our quarantine hotel. We agreed to it. As a law-abiding citizen, we're absolutely fine to follow the rules. But the problem is that the third ordeal starts from here. Like, my family was not sent to quarantine center on the same night. They were confined to sleep at an open hall, just with few barricades. There was no privacy for my wife and there was no food provided to my kids. Whatever the food we have bought as a check-in, as a hand carry, that can support us only for the first 15 or 18 hours, because we were made food supplies. My family bought food supplies which can support them only for the first 15 to 18 hours. And our food supplies are over, and my wife asked for food, and unfortunately they did not provide the food overnight. Next day morning, right from 7 a.m., my wife kept asking them that when would we be sent to quarantine center. They asked to wait. So it happened every 1 hour. Every 1 hour my wife tried to go there, and they said you have to wait. Sometimes I understand out of frustration they have become harsh and serious, but at the same time they need to understand the paranoia and the mental agony that my wife and my 2 kids are going through at the same time. I tried to contact my embassy to see if they can provide food supply at the restricted area, but unfortunately they tried their best, but unfortunately they couldn't send any food inside the restricted zone because of the restrictions that they have. I tried every best possible way to contact my friends who are working in airlines, but they couldn't help because of the restrictions. So finally I have contacted my district councillor, Mr. Leslie. So he tried some strings, and then finally they were sent to the quarantine center after about 36 to 40 hours from the time they landed. During this entire period, the food supply was not provided. The only thing was provided is the next day around 6 p.m., 3 breads and water bottles. 3 pieces of breads and water bottles, and anything else that was not provided. And I believe that both the Department of Health and CHP are working to the best of their ability under stressed circumstances. But however, there are few loopholes, or there are few places where we all need to collectively pull our socks to ensure that there is a smooth transition at airport, and passengers, irrespective of which background of ethnicity, irrespective of which race or religion or which nationality they belong from, they are treated equally, and their food, especially the dietary needs, are recognized and addressed.
Okay, video.
OK， 咁等下，我依家連線埋另外一位朋友仔。咁就係第二個個案嗰位，咁佢會講講個情況。Hello.
Hi.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
So I was a passenger flying on AI310 Air India from 17th of September to 18th of September. I landed in Hong Kong at 6 a.m. Travel from there onward, we went through the whole registration system of the bracelets and the testing system. So we were completed with the test at around 8:30 a.m. of Hong Kong time. Then we were transported to this gate called 201. We were assigned with tables for social distancing measures with 1.5 meters of gap area. So the issue is that wasn't any problem until then. We were told to wait for the test for around that. It would take around 8 hours. So we were assuming that. We waited the whole day. Just the only food facilities that were provided were a muffin, biscuits, and a piece of bread with obviously one of, I think it was a lemon tea. So we had to go through the whole day with that. But then we kept on waiting for the test results. While there were other flights there, they all got tested pretty quick. But our flight, the results came at around 9 to 10 p.m. at the night time, which was already 13 to 14 hours. And I think that's quite a long time. Not sure why, but that wasn't a big issue until then, because we were finally happy to go. So they said they would only pass the test results when they have all test results. Finally, they passed all the test results. I got my test. I was tested negative. But my brother was traveling with me. They couldn't find his paper, and 15 more people there, which included women with children, single mothers with 2 children. There were 3 single mothers, all 3 with 2 children, and there were I think 2 more men and 2 elderly people and 1 young adult. So all these people were just stuck there, and nobody told us what is going on. We tried asking everyone else left. So there were around 250 passengers on the flight. 15 were left behind. Everyone else was allowed to leave. We didn't understand what was going on, but no one explained to us. No one. I went to the officers who were at the airport to try to talk to them what was going on. Everyone else was doing the same because everyone was panicking what is going on. And they were completely just doing this. They were saying no, no. And at one point, one of them even said, speak Chinese with me. I mean, it's an international airport. Why do I need to speak Chinese with them? Lucky enough, since I came to Hong Kong when I was 6 years old, so I do know how to speak Chinese. But there are a lot of people who are uneducated and who travel from other countries to Hong Kong. It doesn't mean the airport staff needs everyone to speak in Chinese with them. It's an international airport. So that was one issue. I kept trying to, there were around 6 to 7 airport officers captured at one point, and they were just trying to make my voice just to be not heard at all. But I was resilient because there was, the kids with the single mothers, they kept on crying for the past 2 hours continuously, because maybe, you never know, the babies need milk, and it's actually pretty hard to deal with babies, you know. I think the kid was only around 3 to 4 years old. So finally, I managed to somehow talk to the health Department of Health, whoever was in charge. There were only 2 people in charge at that moment, and they were like, "Oh, we're not sure what is going on. Your reports were unidentified." They said.
What?
I don't understand what unidentified means. So they said you have to wait till the morning, which they weren't willing to tell me before that. They only told me that because I pressurized them. And this was around at 1 a.m. of nighttime again. So which is around 20 hours, let's say, from the time where we had been tested. And then onwards, we went, we were like, we were again told to sit on the tables and the chairs, which we had been sitting for the past 20 hours. And when I asked the airport staff, "Oh, how about the meal? That's the least you could provide." And they said, "Oh, the meal is right there." He was pointing to the muffin and the biscuits, which is completely ridiculous, because I don't think that was in any way acceptable, because you're supposed to be humane. The airport staff should not just work on the set of guidelines they are given. They should also try to use their personal opinions or personal experience in it, right? And then from then onward, I talked to the health officials back and forth, because no one else was educated enough to do so, so I was the only one doing that. If I wasn't there, I don't know what worse situations they would have faced. So finally, at 3 a.m., they decided to put up these makeshift beds and provide us the meals at around 5 a.m. in the morning. And those meals consisted of, try to listen to this, those meals consisted of 4 chicken wings and potato wedges. That's it, nothing else. It's the Department of the Health giving us meals, and they're giving us junk food after waiting for the food for 27 hours. Does that make any sense? And so we were finally promised that we were the first priority in the morning to be tested, and it would be at around, for our test results. They didn't say the test results would be tested again. They said the working hours would start at 9 again. So we were promised that maybe around 11 we will be ready to go. We waited until 11, nobody was willing to talk. I tried talking to the staff. At one point, I was like, I can't handle this, because there's literally kids here, there's mothers who haven't eaten, because they fed their food to the kids. Because they were vegetarian and they were given chicken wings, so they only ate potato veggies. So I talked to them, I talked to the officials, and I was like, I need someone more responsible to talk to me, who can at least coordinate what is going on, because there's also a lack of communication between the passengers as well as the people who are working at higher positions. I felt like there was no pressure given to them. So I was like, I want someone more responsible to talk to them. The person in charge there, this lady, she told me, do you know the law? She asked me, do I know the law? For what? Because I said I want to talk to a higher person, whoever is more responsible, and I would even go to the meeting room, which they said the person was in a meeting room if I need to talk to that person. So they said I need to know the law about that. But luckily this old guy came, and I think he was from the health department as well, and I respect him. He did take some responsibility. He provided us at least better meals, and we were finally, but still, we were able to leave the airport at 3 p.m. of the next day, which is in total around 33 hours. And we were not given any accommodation. I think at least it's just 15 people. If you knew that the results would come on the next day, there should have been at least some arrangements, at least like, let's say, for the hotel rooms, because I don't think that's a lot to do. Or you could at least provide good meals, at least 10 the people who are cooking with them, what's going on, rather than them having to ask again and again and again. Because I bet if any person works for 33 hours or doesn't get to sleep or faces such kind of situation, I believe anyone would get frustrated. That's it. I just hope the airport, no other family has to go through such a thing. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.
係咪俾 Michael 先啊
OK 係 Michael。
？Michael 要咪嘅可能，咪都得嘅咁就。
OK。
聽唔聽到 OK 啊？各位好啊，我係機場發展關注網絡發言人，亦都係屯門區議員坤泰。咁過去幾年以嚟都睇住呢一個即係機場相關嘅一啲嘅即係事宜嘅。喺新聞稿我都講咗，其實機場咧喺到依家今日為止咧，只有一間喺禁區裏邊離港層嘅清真認證餐廳嘅啫。係根據翻機管局嘅網站啦，就咁得一間嘅啫，係喺離港層。1號客運大樓裏邊，咁即係話，如果喺早前嘅時間，機管局安排所有飛機喺呢一個中場客運落機再檢查嘅話咧，你任何抵港層嘅乘客咧，其實邊一忽你都冇可能可以 access 到呢一個嘅清真食物嘅，係啦，咁。呢一樣嘢其實係睇得出啦，呢一個香港國際機場啦，包括機管局本身咧，根本係冇預備過喺疫情之下點樣可以令到旅客舒舒服服咁樣喺度等攞 results， 又或者佢哋主動咁樣係同衛生署講，有一啲有需要嘅乘客，佢哋可能喺飲食上面，又或者係因為宗教，又或者係佢哋嘅文化嘅需要，又提出相應適切嘅協助。例如好簡單，即係我唔係今次自己講緊下口闊啦。譬如話其他所講嘅其他嘅信仰，譬如話係即係 kosher food 咁樣，世界冇。如果有啲人係對頭先所講啦，一啲麵包嘅嘢係敏感嘅話，咁佢點食啊？即係對澱質對 gluten 敏感嘅話，咁其實係冇嘅喎。食啲咩？食唔到嘢。成件事其實係睇到機管局有冇盡力過係協助翻喺呢一個隔離區裏面嘅旅客咧，定係機管局諗住 outsource 咗嗰個嘅地方出去俾衛生署，佢連個接待嘅責任都 outsource 埋。即係 outsourcing your area for quarantine doesn't mean you outsource your responsibilities or hospitality.
Absolutely.
There's no way you could do it. 所以到最後咧，其實我哋睇翻啊，機管局個 website 咧，好大隻字講 Where amazing journey begins。OK。
Very amazing.
It's really amazing.
Super amazing.
即係呢成件事，其實如果係真係機管局同埋衛生署係有事先航空公司又好，又或者係同其他嘅部門係夾都好咧，其實喺禁區裏邊係可以做到一啲俾錢、自行俾錢嘅購買食物安排嘅。就算係講得用其他嘅即係類比或標準嚟講咧，如果你係一個被扣留人士，你都可以要求自己付款去購買食物。但係呢一次係如果你係喺一啲 quarantine 嘅 area 裏邊，你連呢一個嘅權利都冇，即係其實係同呢一個即係歐洲嘅難民營咧更加不堪。It's even worse than refugee camp in Lesbos。即係最後啦，咁其實成件事咧，佢哋即係兩位嘅 case 嘅 treatment 咧，其實等同咧香港政府同大家講嘅啫 ，Don't come to Hong Kong，就係咁多。我唔知道究竟今朝早林鄭所講啦 ，call and call 佢嗰個嘅熔斷機制係會係點樣嘅操作，又或者會唔會關事？但係其實你點樣斷都好，我頭先睇機管局嘅即係 website 啦。其實每一日我哋而家香港仍然有好多嘅航班係由唔同嘅國家或者地區到嚟，非洲又有，曼谷又有，杜拜又有，Amsterdam 歐洲好多地方，美國都有。你有咁多個國家嘅地區嘅人嚟嘅時候，佢哋本身已經有好多唔同嘅 dietary needs 同埋呢一個 religious needs。點解你衛生署做咗咁耐 quarantine， 你到依家你都唔醒覺到有呢啲咁嘅問題？然後你機管局竟然係唔會主動去作出任何嘅 recommendation 去配合，呢個係最令人 frustrated 嘅地方。
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank the press for being here today. It's unfortunate every time there's an issue for ethnic minorities, we have to have a press conference. It's ridiculous in 2020 today that the government still cannot take matters into their own hands. We're not just here because of this issue at the airport. It has started since February when the COVID-19 had started in Hong Kong. I'll never forget in April when the health department mixed up a Nepalese father and son in quarantine, and then in the press conference said because the names are alike we made a mistake. Lucky no one died. What if it had happened? Who is responsible? Talking about even worse in Zhongyuanchun, we social workers and actually just general public had to take matters into our own hands when many minorities were put into Zhongyuanchun, and the first day the food arrived for their Ramadan where many Muslims were fasting, the first menu was pork sandwich. I mean, come on, right? 2020. We are talking about cultural sensitivity, religious sensitivity. Hong Kong is an international destination, right? You're not just talking about ethnic minorities, you're talking about tourists. How can you still make that mistake? And in fact, many of us had to go and be there for several weeks. This is the job of the government, not the job of us. But we are doing that. And now even this. And even getting chartered flights to Hong Kong. 喂，大家都係香港人啦嘛。Why do we need to have a special begging process to come back to our city? You know, it's ridiculous. Today, many of my friends are still being stuck back home because they are Indians and they are now the second in the list of the global pandemic. But they are also Hong Kong people. Many of them are also like me and Zaik Ali and this gentleman here. We are all taxpayers. We are all contributing to the city. It's unfortunate that we're very, very lucky actually. Each time we have issues, we have Mo Yi, Chang Gaho, Yi, and maybe Fernando Cheung, but don't, you know, where's the rest of them? Where is the government officials coming in and saying we want to take better care of our citizens? You know, it is ridiculous. Me and Zaik as social workers, we have been shouting this out for more than 10 years. You know, racial equalities, cultural sensitivity, diversity, inclusion. Where is the EOC? Lapsap, right? Nothing. What have they done till today? All these issues have been going on for months. What has happened? They've not had any dialogue with the people who are in need. Have they been in the airports? Have they been in Chongyunchun? Anyone come down to do any kind of, discussions or some dialogue? Absolutely not. So that's why today we have to keep doing this. People complain, oh, it is saying it's not. We're not asking for special rights. We're just asking for dignity. We're just asking for basic human respect to our religion, our culture. We bring diversity to Hong Kong. 香港是我家, right? The 政府 always say. So that's why we're here today. And 希望 the message goes out to the government that we need to wake up because more ethnic minorities, local Hong Kongers are coming back to the city. And this cannot keep happening.
講多啲中文。
咁頭先講翻我嗰個經驗啦，咁我係2月都疫情開始嗰陣時都見到我哋少數族裔咧係即係個經驗咧係困難啲嘅。咁你喺你哋播咗個新聞咧係一個尼泊爾爸爸同嗰個仔咧係隔開嗰陣時咧就 mix up 咗嘅。我係嗰日睇新聞我都覺得哇！咁離譜嘅嗰個政府嗰個答案就話啲名係一樣，所以就 mix up 咗。我心諗喎，如果過咗身點諗咧？冇咗人喎，真係 it's very silly。咁 OK， 我覺得OK 啦，初應該啲問題出現嘅。不過喺眾洋村，我哋好大部分嘅少數族裔係要一齊去隔開嘅。我冇諗過香港呢個咁嘅時候都會有呢個 mistake。依家你去茶餐廳都知道你唔覺得食豬肉啊，見到我都會知唔食豬肉唔食牛肉嘅。點解眾洋村第一日個 menu 係要派豬肉三文治呢？或者火腿三文治呢？我真係唔知。啲杯麵都係俾beef 豬肉咁樣嘅。So 唔係第一日啦，我哋係好多時而家係每日都係講緊，喂大佬，我哋香港人，我哋係唔同嘅文化、唔同嘅宗教，大家都係香港人，每次都係要咁樣講，每次都係要做記者會。每次都係要大聲先，要政府會少少醒嘅。But it's ridiculous。我哋都攰啦，我哋做社工，每日都要咁樣去做。So 希望今次呢個經驗唔係我哋經驗，大家而家過咗嚟香港嘅國際城市嘅 airport 都係有呢個問題，好似一個難民營，點解會咁呢？ And it's not going to end。我哋仲有好多香港人係會翻嚟㗎啦。But this kind of experience really shows 我哋係不停係一個 second-class citizens, and this needs to stop now.
OK， 好，唔使咧。
唔係佢講兩句唔使。OK， 得。
好，Q&A。
Miss Lo 可唔可以講下？可唔可以講下你哋即係今次其實即係做呢個記者會絕對呢個文字係希望即係政府可唔可以跟進啊？
當然政府要回應呢一類非常嚴重嘅投訴嘅，因為香港嘅赤鱲角機場係國際機場，你唔可以俾人睇到嚇。而家我哋用難民營呢啲字眼嚟形容，係啊，所謂喺機場隔離求其俾個屏風啊，又或者係叫你俾塊布你，然後瞓喺地下要一路嘈。一路要有人有 intervention， 有區議員嚟到啦，咁就姑且就整到張床俾你，呢啲係完全不能想像。我哋當然理解機場同埋衛生署嘅職員咧，可能都係真係非常疲累嚇，而家係做到傻晒。咁但係有啲嘢係要盡力嘅，同埋一啲係對宗教啊、膚色啊、種族嘅敏感度咧，係必須正視嘅咯。
咁請教下咧，其實咧接觸啲個案 case 求助嘅時候，有冇話之後去了解翻其實點解，即係佢哋當日會送唔到佢哋去檢疫中心啊，又或者嗰陣點解會提供唔到佢哋需要嘅清潔食物？即係其實嗰邊有冇解釋翻係點樣啦？同埋事後有冇話再問衛生署啊或者機管局咁佢哋有啲咩答覆？
咁講啦，機管局嗰邊咧，其實我後來係揾啱啱第2個禮拜嗰個咧，我係揾咗佢哋嘅公關都問過，咁即係佢哋嗰日，因為我揾到嘅時候咧，好快手佢哋已經即係安排翻啲即係啲人嗰個情況，咁所以頭先即係 video 嗰位先生都好快就可以搞掂咗。咁但係咧，每一次都要咁樣去做咧，就好弊嘅啦。真係佢哋咁啱，佢哋係住翻喺香港呢啲，而唔係一啲可能係啱啱初嚟報到嘅真係嘅新移民啊，我哋叫做冇人冇物喺度嘅，咁就會好大件事。佢哋連議員都唔識揾，唔識去求助，佢可能就喺入面40個鐘就係冇嘢食。咁其實衛生署其實我覺得hotline 嗰度咧嗰位即係同我溝通嗰位醫生咧，同埋護士都非常之盡責㗎啦，已經盡量一路幫我去 update 住個資料，去話即係佢哋送去邊度嗰啲。但係真係佢哋喺前線喺機場入面請嗰啲係 part time 嚟㗎，嗰啲佢哋係可能10年都唔講一次英文，佢哋就好驚啊！嗰啲後生仔咁。即係呢個就係嗰個問題，佢哋就好驚，就唔敢行埋去，就同佢哋啲即係應該咁講，唔敢同啲唔係華裔嘅人去溝通。姑勿論係咪係黑皮膚定白皮膚冇關係，佢哋係根本唔夠膽講英文。They don't dare to speak English. That is the problem. 但係呢個就係 DOH， 即係衛生署，或者 employ somebody 嚟做呢個 part time 嘅時候，其實佢真係急起上嚟都要有少少英語能力，或者至少可唔可以話，例如既然你有啲真係可能急起上嚟，你請人嘅時候冇辦法話知咗邊個英文好啲，邊個冇咁好啦，你翻到嚟問佢哋邊個 dare to speak English， 呢四掛牌，起碼人哋知道去揾嗰個先啦。真係明㗎，有可能急到咁嘅情況。因為就是language I speak English or I speak Hindu or I speak Urdu。very important， 同埋佢哋點解係攞啲24小時熱線？你醫院你都可以有個24小時嘅可以翻譯啦。我唔明點解 DOH 喺今次咁耐啦，做咗成依家9個月啦，即係8個月9個月嘅抗疫啦。我唔明點解佢哋都仲未有呢個 sense 去做咯。即係呢個我覺得係好憤怒。點解今次要開呢個記招，就係希望引起個公眾關注，引起到 DOH 嘅關注。你作為一個係香港嘅政府嘅部門，係要服務嘅係所有嘅香港人，包括少數族裔嘅朋友。咁呢一個我覺得同埋好覺得就係話成日講亞洲國際城市，亞洲最佳機場要同新加坡要同首爾機場去競爭。點解我哋個機場搞成咁樣？我作為一個運輸嘅行頭出身嘅人，我睇見都覺得非常之蒙羞。
講翻成嗰個，即係其實冇話係咪即係因為衞生署嗰邊可能人手唔夠，因為佢哋其實都冇呢個 awareness 去提供一啲新鮮嘅食物，即係唔會了解呢個原因點解？
佢哋根本上係我已經唔敢再咩，我話你可唔可以而家俾人送啲嘢入去啦？已經係急到嗰個情況，30幾個鐘，2個小朋友，一個9歲，一個5歲喎。咁佢哋都係一路唔肯答我，即係現場職員話你俾個 supervisor 同我講啦，你都唔肯。咁所以本來一個 case 我都已經覺得，佢總之最後送咗隔離檢疫中心，俾佢可以喺檢疫中心送飯入去俾佢，都算啦，起碼有嘢落咗肚，我都諗住 finish 㗎啦件事。再之後諗住之後點樣做貨，點知第2個禮拜又一樣咁樣，所以真係忍唔住，一定今次要開呢個記招，要令到衛生署知道。
Perhaps as if you should reply to that. What exactly is the reason they couldn't supply halal food? Is it sheer ignorance or insensitivity or indifference?
Well, I personally believe that this is lack of awareness of the different dietary or diversified food practices that people are coming back to Hong Kong. So A, it is highly unlikely that they might have understood the concept of halal to start with, and B, they are under the impression that any vegetarian is halal. Not necessarily that every vegetarian is halal. It also depends on the type of how the food was processed, whether it has any alcohol or it is purely non-alcohol, because alcohol doesn't fall into halal category. And also the cutlery, was there any contamination of the cutlery, whether the same cutlery was used to cook or to process non-halal food, These are all comes up mixed together. It makes it as a halal, and people from a Muslim community are quite particular about halal food. I believe this is lack of awareness.
OK，好，差唔多啦嗬。
我想補充多句，其實佢攞行李嗰度都有啲問題㗎。呢、個就唔係淨係講緊少數族裔定唔少數族裔，係佢哋咧翻嚟咧，因為要入隔離營嗰啲咧，佢哋係只可以攞自己 hand carry 飛機上面 hand carry 嗰件，結果寄倉嗰件咧就唔攞得，就要先生可能係或者家屬嗰啲喺出面聯絡航空公司去攞。咁結果最大嘅問題係咩咧？佢哋如果入到檢疫中心，隨時就冇衫換啦嗰一下。咁呢個我覺得都應該要檢討咯。
好，多謝晒。
So what do you think are the major problems behind this ridiculous incident? Is it a systematic issue, and what departments should take a major responsibility? And how do you think can actually advance the mechanism to make sure there's actually smooth transition for the ethnic minorities during the quarantine?
Thank you for that question. Actually, I always have said it's a systemic issues, and sadly to say, it is the political will of the government. This is not a first incident, isolated incident. Claudia, Leslie have handled so many in the last couple of years. So it is really, I want to say, if the government has political will, maybe it's time to have a separate department on ethnic affairs, because it's no longer a small population. We are talking a huge diverse group of South Asians, Africans, Caucasians, Japanese, Koreans. It's getting more diverse. Hong Kong is a very much an international city, but sadly to say, the South Asians always feel like second class. And till today we are struggling, even though many of us are professionals, we are now in mainstream society, it's still not working out because it's the government that needs to take that first step.
In terms of this incident, Claudia, do you think there's actually any more detailed suggestion you will provide to the government to improve their airport quarantine services?
Well, I think they certainly have room to do better. We have no intention of adding on to their workload.
Yes.
We're just asking them to do their job properly. Basic things like looking after women and children, for God's sake, feed them with proper food. Basic things like that. It's really, at the end of the day, no big deal. It's this systematic, as Jeffrey keeps saying, this systematic attitude of indifference. Oh, too bad. Oh, you guys got stranded in some public housing estate. Okay, we come to feed you with pork sandwiches. I mean, give me a break. Things like that. They should learn to upgrade the racial and religious and cultural sensitivity to start with. And please train more English, at least English speaking, the workers on the front line.
Thank you.
仲有
OK
你可唔可以講一講，即係可能 standard 都比較 standard 嘅 process， 赴港人其實係點樣？即係喺機場，如果係同樣嘅情況，即係佢哋會唔會俾即係有好啲嘅食物啊，或者點樣？即係可能對比起其實係咪話真係有可能針對 South Asian？
唔係，我諗我哋而家講嘅咧係少數族裔，佢哋因為宗教同埋文化係有特別嘅要求。你話一般香港人，甚至係外籍嘅香港人，譬如我有啲鄰居係英國人，佢翻嚟就冇話有特別嘅大問題，咁佢都係講英文嘅喎，係嘛？咁香港人你除非你話我係食素嘅，我食齋嘅咋咩咁，但係我只能夠想像，因為我哋而家好難咁樣比較，就視乎你係邊個啦嚇。如果你食齋，對唔住喎，冇齋喎，我哋餅乾咧食餅乾咧咁，但係餅乾都有啲有豬油噶嘛嚇，咁所以好難比較。
基本上
咁我理解係啊，唔會話唔準你食嘢噶嘛，係嘛？
但係呢個係 basic need 咯，即係追蹤一些生活最基本需要咯，真係，即係佢係每一個人嘅基本需要嚟㗎嘛，食飯瞓覺。我唔明點解個政府係冇 sense 到咁樣，即係你任何人嚟到香港，你要去係等檢疫報告，咁你梗係要預備定呢啲嘢，咁你預咗一定，仲要係 international airport， 你一定預咗有啲唔同宗教信仰啊、文化嘅人嚟到，你應該係預備好。我唔明點解到今天都仲係咁樣。嗱，呢家你封咗嗰班機啦，咁 AI310啊嘛，話2個禮拜啦。嗱，呢個就係你最好檢討嘅時間啦，政府即係諗一諗自己點樣去完善翻呢件事，就唔好再要我接第3宗又係咁樣。即係頭先嗰位video 嗰位都講過，因為其實佢同我講過就係話200幾人係行先過佢哋，好似佢哋就係被遺忘咗。咁你都睇到呢個算唔算一個歧視？大家判斷咯，呢個我覺得
係最終就係呢個問題。你不其然地，好似正話安德里講啦，你不其然地覺得係咪因為我嘅膚色問題？就我哋係一定要落後少少嘅，佢哋行先，你哋係唔知點解係，或者可能係比較危險嘅高危一族嘅咁，呢個感覺係非常之差，未必係真，純粹係嫌疑。咁但係就係俾人覺得有冇種族歧視嘅因素喺度。
OK，
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.